Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Carls, and Rebecca's here. Jordan may be joining us, but she's on the road, so she may not have much Wi-Fi. So Rebecca, Jordan, and I were first introduced to Nick during a Catch the Moon course called 6FS, Six Figure Songwriting. I know there's lots of people that have done the course as well in the audience. And actually our cohort was about 2 years ago now, so March 2021. And Pandion Music Foundation launched at the end of September 2022. So Pandion Music Foundation is a free online platform empowering artists as they navigate the music industry through educational resources, workshops, wellness guidance, and direct access to experts, helping to provide a constant thread of support for music creators with a specific emphasis on uplifting music creators from underprivileged and marginalized communities. So here at Pandion, we're working to break down barriers between emerging artists and industry professionals to help people from all backgrounds have access to the information that they need to grow their careers and to learn to make a living from their music and sustain that momentum and growth. So we're super excited to have Nick. Thank you for being here and giving us your time. And
thank you for having me.
I've got a really awesome bio of Nick's. So a little introduction to those who may not have seen Nick before. Nick Maker is head of music supervision and artist partnerships at The Elements. Nick curates and creates music for some of the world's biggest brands through licensing, original compositions, artist partnerships, and everything in between. Prior to this, Nick served as in-house music producer at Chicago-based advertising agency Energy BBDO, shaping the sound of global clients such as Jack Daniels, Champion, Starbucks, Woodford Reserve, Wrigley Extra, and Orbit, SC Johnson, and Miller Coors, among others. And before moving stateside, Nick's worked in supervision, licensing, and A&R in his hometown of Sydney, Australia, pairing bands with brands such as McDonald's, Toyota, Mars, Heineken, Smirnoff, and Lexus, to name a few. Wow, that's a really cool resume.
That was a lot. Well done.
That was a lot.
Through that list. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and what we'll do is Rebecca and I will ask some questions, and then towards the end we'll invite the audience to ask some questions as well, and then we've got a really exciting announcement at the end. So let's get into it. Just pull up I've got a huge list of questions, Nick. I'm so sorry, but
amazing. No, I just made you read a huge list of
no.
bio.
That's a great
brands
bio,
that I've worked with. So yes. No, all good.
And also too, you're more than welcome to just jump right in, Nick, and just kind of give us like all your great golden nuggets that you have that you want to share and kind of lead us or guide us as where you've been and all of that. So excited to.
As I do, I'm sure I'll get going on a tangent at some point. You can tell me to shut
exactly.
up.
Exactly.
Cool. So I do recognize a lot of people, and I think most of the audience will be familiar with what sync is. But for anybody that doesn't know what that word means, would you just be able to give us a quick brief overview of what sync is?
Yeah, for sure. So sync is short for synchronization, essentially. And it is another way of saying, lining up music to picture, I guess, in a literal sense, syncing them, but more broadly, I guess, in an industry sense, it's going to speak to any placement of music in another media. So the majority of what I do is advertising stuff. So there's a lot of I'm sure you guys all pitch music for a lot of film and TV as well, video games like the other project I'm working on at the moment, online, or it can sort of extend into sort of more a broader partnership sense. Like we do a lot of brand partnerships as well that aren't necessarily here's a track and a picture and let's line them up, but maybe it's engaging with an artist in some social media posts or whatever. All of that kind of gets encompassed under sync. More broadly speaking, music and other media.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So
did I get that right?
Yeah,
okay.
you did.
It's a quiz, yeah.
Yeah, so take us right back then. so what sort of got you started in music? Because I know, well, from your bio picture, it looks like you're into DJing. So like, when did you know that music was for you and was one of your passions?
Yeah, so I was always a huge music fan. And I like was the like 6-year-old or something that like my older neighbor showed how to use. This is like the Napster days.
Yep.
And an older neighbor, for better or for worse, showed me how to download music on the internet. And then I was a 6-year-old listening to like a bunch of Limp Bizkit and things that I shouldn't be listening to. And that was kind of my first exposure to like, oh, I like this music stuff. And was just a fan all the way through, all the way through school. And then started going to shows in my teenage years. And like, I think it was like music in the live setting that like really kind of made me fall in love with, with the art. I guess, I think also like being quite, did we lose something? We good? I think also like, being quite extroverted and experiencing music for the first time in a live setting with other people to like share with was a really awesome experience, and really maybe double down on like, wow, music's something that, either I want to do professionally, or I just, it needs to be an important part of my life moving forward.
Yeah.
And then I was actually studying copywriting for advertising at university, and that's kind of what I thought I was going to do. And then one day I saw an ad going for a music scout / researcher was the title, for a music supervision company called Level 2 back in Australia. And I read the description. It was like, hey, we want someone to like scout artists for use in like mostly advertising work and some film and TV. And I was like, that's a job. Like that seems silly. Like I would do that for free. I'm not, and look, I was like, I'm not going to get the job, but I may as well apply. And I applied, and I got sort of an extensive sort of a questionnaire, like a little application questionnaire that was kind of testing out your skills in this world. And I had no idea what a music supervisor was, but it was essentially testing, your music supervision skills. And one aspect was, they worked on a bank commercial a few years prior, and basically they're just like, line 10 of your own songs up to this. And I just kind of went through, this is sort of iTunes days, went through my my library, and I guess had some good stuff. And then it was, name, tell us about your favorite record labels, or like independent artists, or specifically independent Australian artists for that. Because we did a lot of local work. And then a lot of the job too is research and clearance. So like half of it's creative, half of it is the legal licensing side. So they basically sent us like, here's an obscure old soul recording. You go track down the rights holders for that. So I guess I did well enough in all that to get through to the interview phase, and again came away from that being like, well, we got on really well. But like, I was hearing about all the other people that had this job, and it was so and so that presented on breakfast radio back in Australia, and so and so that managed this band or worked for this label. And I was like, I was just some dude who was at university and studying advertising. But I got really lucky, got hired on in a trial period, and stuck around doing music there for several years. And then we kind of did both sides. If you look at, I often look at sync as kind of a buying and a selling side. So there's the buying side, which is like traditionally the music supervisor, which is, representing advertising agency or brand or TV production company or director or whoever, being like, we need music. And then there's obviously the people selling music, and sometimes that's a sync rep, and sometimes it's an artist directly, and sometimes it's a label or publisher or whatever. But I sort of started on the quote unquote buying side on this in terms of supervision. But partway through, we also did some of the selling side and pitching, sort of managing the rights to a bunch of different Australian artists, mostly Australian, but some international too, and pitching them to various people on the buying side, various music supervisors and producers and stuff. And yeah, we used to pitch music to various agencies in the US, and at one point, was managed to weasel my way into a gig over in the US, and that was 7 years ago.
Wow.
I'm still here. Yeah. however many work visas later, I am still stateside.
Wow, that's awesome.
We're lucky to have you.
So lucky.
I'm here taking your jobs, you know. My friends tell me off all the time.
Jordan's in Australia taking your jobs too. So
exactly, it's a mutual exchange. I love that.
Right, exactly. Okay, what's next, Carls?
Okay, so I guess so have you you probably got a handful. Do you have any favorite placements that you've managed to marry music to? I don't know, it could be an ad. Have you got any favorite memories of a piece of music, maybe an authentic indie artist that you managed to pair to motion picture?
Yeah. I guess there's a full range. There's the bigger names where it's like, it's super, as a music fan, it's amazing to get to like, I did a Nina Simone placement, and like getting to sort of chat to Nina's estate and hearing them be like, oh, we like this project, and yeah, we'd be happy to approve this, was like a huge feeling, as someone participating in music culture, and as both a professional and a music fan. What else? There's I guess there's the bigger end of the spectrum. Yes, getting to work with kind of some heroes and big names, and then there's the like kind of the indie wins.
Mhm.
There's a job that comes to mind back home in Australia, when there was a band by the name of the Delta Rigs, who I think are still touring, but I haven't kind of seen much from them in a while. And they had a bit of notoriety back home, kind of had an indie deal, but ended up putting them in an ad for AFL, the Australian Football League, which is like our equivalent of the NFL. And it was like a season launch commercial. And I remember listening to the radio at one point, and they had an interview like, oh, we've got the Delta Rigs in, and like, how, what's been going on? They're like, we don't know how, but like the AFL heard our song, and then like they wanted to use it, and it like kind of like blew us up a little bit. We got some money, and we used that to tour the US, and it was really helpful. And it was like, me hearing that side was really awesome too, because it's easy to, especially when you work in a lot of advertising, it's easy just to kind of be head down and like, you're working for the man, you're working for a big corporation, whoever's got the money. But to be able to take a bunch of that money and give it to artists is great. That's kind of how I viewed my job.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, right. I got to sleep at night somehow if I'm working in advertising.
Yeah. So like, that's true. Anybody in the room that gets the Grammy this year, next year, I guess, and you make millions of dollars off your music, you just remember Pandion Music Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what's going on right now with what music everyone's looking for? What are the trends, and what are you specifically looking for these days, Nick?
Whenever that question gets posed, I was like, frame it up with kind of, I frame it up with the how quickly moving, as someone who focuses on ads and branding, how quickly that stuff moves, and how quickly we're kind of on to the next project, and or juggling many different things in many different lanes at once. And that's not to take anything away from, say, a film and TV music supervisor, who is surely just as busy, if not busier. But often, if you're working on a season, for example, there's a shit ton of music to put in there. But often that show kind of has an identity music-wise. Film too, and maybe you can kind of focus on a world. And when you're pitching a music, here's another tangent that I'm running off on. But when you're pitching a music, you can certainly look to see, oh, if this person's working on a TV show, maybe they're working on a new season in Nashville or something, and they're like, oh, we need some, country, rock music, blues, or anything like that. Or like maybe it's Atlanta and they're working on a bunch of hip hop stuff, and you can kind of target your the pitches you send based on genre. In advertising at any given point, I'm probably working on a car commercial and a sci-fi video game trailer and a love like a non-romantic love pitch that's like all about togetherness, and like it might be more organic sounding, and they're basically like little microcosms of these. Like if you think of a big film of we're going to tell this story and use a bunch of music and work on it for 2 years or whatever. Not that some of the ads that I'm working on don't end up stretching that long, but like it ends up being a little 30-second spot, and I work on it for a certain amount of time, and then I'm on to the next one, and they're kind of individual stories. So with that being said, I'm constantly looking for all kinds of music in all kinds of brand categories, because Starbucks has its own sonic identity, and Jack Daniels had its own sonic identity, and whatever I'm working on, in the same way that brands will have a visual identity and particular colors and fonts and designs they use. Sonics are definitely the same. But yes, all over the place. I think that if you want to draw some patterns, because we are usually working in, here's a 15, 30 second, 60 second, whatever time frame. It's stuff that's kind of dynamic enough to be able to tell a story in that shorter amount of time. And other than that, just kind of anything with high production value that you'd happily release on an art, as an artist. That's the same kind of quality we're looking for. If anything, I find advertising is more broadly just about engaging with people and trying to communicate an emotion and tell a message, and with that in mind, like an easy way to engage and move people is through the music that they're listening to outside of advertising media world as well. So what I'm looking for is often what's kind of trending in real music world too.
Yeah. It seems like that's kind of shifting sometimes, and people want, certain things if something's trending, and then they want, Kate Bush or something. But
That had a big year.
Yeah, that had a big
for
year.
Kate. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exciting because, something from the past can make its way back. And then there's people that, are always just making really beautiful, modern, current music. And so I love our, I just love our job. Like we get to make music, we get to, be around exciting projects. And I wanted to ask you, when you're as a supervisor, do you ever in a room put together the team of, the players to actually score on certain things? Are you part of that sometimes? And if you are, give us a little inside peek about it.
Yeah, definitely. So before my current gig, I was kind of more. I was sort of internal at an advertising agency, and I would work with a lot of. I'd either like get certain artists to create demo, or get a certain what we call a music house, which is usually people that are a company that's mostly built around original scores and managing a library of music. I might get them to do some demos, or talk to a particular record label about getting one of their artists to do something. I'm actually working kind of more on the music house side now. So the elements, a bit of background. The company was originally started by a couple of producers in the like sort of producer engineer beat making sense, on the boards. Two guys named Jane and who kind of came up in that sort of late 90s, early 2000s sort of pop and hip hop music world. So worked with like there's Wu-Tang Clan and Mariah Carey in that kind of era. When you get them telling stories, there's some goodies in there. But that's the background, and then they ended up partnering with a couple of folks who are doing a similar thing in the UK. And everyone sort of came from this music making background. And as a lot of people in sync do, at some point along the way, discovered that sync is a thing. And me as musician, like here's another way to make a living. And so we're like, music for media is a thing, and ended up doing a lot of that. And the company kind of grew around like, all right, well, we're making music for whichever, mostly ad project is coming in. Well, we can make stuff for that. And then like, okay, we need someone that is a little more orchestral for this. So we need someone that's, got a great booming vocal for this. And the more specific briefs, it would naturally build out and get more and more sort of freelance producer, composer, artist and stuff in. My background is more the supervision, artist partnership, licensing side, and we've kind of combined forces. I've now been there for a year and a half or so to do kind of all of the above. But all that being said, as a kind of our core is creating music, and that can mean anything based on the brief from, hey, we need a hip hop producer to write on this. And we have kind of a big database of folks that we work with, and people that sort of songwrite and produce for other artists. They also kind of work with us in the media space too. It can be as simple as, we need a producer to make this beat, or it can be, I've sometimes it's finding, hey, we need a rapper or a vocalist, and like maybe it's going through an artist, or maybe it's going through a producer that's like, oh great, yes, I actually work with these vocalists, we can get them to work with, or maybe we're sourcing a rapper. I've had to source like full sort of gospel choirs and stuff before, or depending on the brief, maybe recently it was a cello player to play a particular line. But we're essentially kind of executive producing in the same way that an executive producer in any other music studio creating, a track for that artist project would. Sourcing from all sides. So it totally depends on the brief. But I we kind of have a Rolodex of people that play just about everything, sing just about every style, produce just about every style, rap, whatever it may be. And often there's been an increase. I think the model in ad world for a long time was kind of having, here are your sort of in-house composers, and they're sort of there in the studio at any given time, and brief might come in and, okay, we need an emotional piano thing. Let me do that. Oh, next one's hip hop. Okay, cool. Let me switch over and get in hip hop mode, whatever, and that was kind of it for a long time. And what clients and agencies and creatives are kind of demanding more of now is, we want to work with his insert specific artist here. We want to do a partnership with them and do it. And it's, our job to liaise with their team or their label or whatever, and get them in the studio and get them working on the specific project. Or often it's like, hey, we want to create a cover of this song, or we want to write a new song that sounds like this, and we want to work with an up and coming indie acoustic artist, who's out there, and it's us kind of working with different people based on whatever the specific project is, as opposed to one kind of more advertising based composer kind of molding themselves in a different way.
Right. And so that seems to be more common, because after talking to some music supervisors, and that's like just something that is part of their job, is like a good portion is also just finding these musicians and finding these indie artists that sound like so and so, and pulling them together as a team, or asking them, or finding if they have the music. So any recommendations to our group here today? Is it good to have your music released and kind of spotlighted and attention? Look at me, listen to me. I mean, is that how you find sometimes your artists, or is it just also through briefs in libraries and things like that? What's your favorite way to find your stuff? Your good
Yeah. I I don't think there's a separation between and I don't think there should be a separation between the music that you as an artist make and release, and what you do for Sync Media World. You can certainly, with that, if you as an artist are um, passionate about, say, you might be passionate about like making more experimental stuff in your artist project, and maybe it's reserving more sort of middle of the road productions for advertising. That's totally fine. Obviously you can have different artist projects and that sort of thing, but yeah, there was certainly no need to have think that you need to promote yourself in any way differently for media world as you would for your regular artist world. As I said, like there's a certainly an appetite to work with practicing artists, and we do. It's not always essential. Sometimes we're just filling 30 seconds with a bed of music, and there's a lot of voiceover and there's stuff going on, and we just need a track to kind of live underneath. And maybe there's certainly some, coming from a branding perspective, certainly there's some brands who don't really care where the music is from. They just want something that creates the emotion, and they don't care if there's a name attached to it. Whereas sometimes the brief that I get in is, hey, we want to find music from an artist that, like this, the thing that I was working on just this morning is, it's a broader artist partnership, and it needs to be someone that's set to have kind of a big 2023. So I'm talking to various labels, publishers, managers, etc., saying, hey, what's coming for insert artist here this year. Are they on the festival circuit? Is there new music coming? Perhaps there is a big single that we can release at the same time as we're releasing a commercial, and drop those at the same time. And both the music itself and the commercial are kind of two different assets in their own right, that each going to help each other and each help build notoriety for each other. So yeah, I mean, I would just say continue being artists, and let Sync be one part of that, for sure. I assume if you're on this call, you're into the Sync side of things. But yeah, it's even not necessary. There are some artists that are just being artists and don't do Sync.
Yeah, that's true. And it seems like well, we all show up because we love making music, and we that's what we do. And so it's great to have these opportunities, the possibility of our songs landing in a movie or film or ad. It's always exciting when that happens.
Yeah.
And we all support each other when we see one of us getting licensed or synced up. And so it's such a nice community of support here.
I heard you say that, was it 2 years ago that everyone finished the course? Is it like
that was the last cohort? So Rebecca, Jordan, and I met on the March 2021, the last year of the 6FS, and you might have been on April, May time. I think you were a music supervisor. That I think we had a listening session with you, actually.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I wonder if it's like, when people graduate from a school and they're like, we're the class of 20. I see it. Yeah. August 19 representing people. Yeah. People got a patch.
Yeah, I think it's more these days, it seems it's just more like, oh, too indie, or is it this group or this group? And like some of these peeps that I'm looking at are part of Nick Phelps, Make That Shit Modern, or Sam Connects, of course, so we're just one broad community, international community, helping each other, and we're running into each other in all these different groups. And with Pandion, we're doing this for free, so anybody who doesn't have the money or just another support for you all to be able to come here and get this really beautiful feedback from Nick, and or get this kind of insider information of what's happening and what goes on as a supervisor. And
Love what you guys are doing.
yes, thank you. Thank you. We should
Thank you
open it up for
for
some questions now. It's
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I saw one recently, Janet. Love to hear wins for indie artists. And Janet, do you want to ask that question out loud more specifically, or let's see, or is that good? You can just say
Oh,
yes
I
or no.
was just celebrating the fact that he was focused on getting wins for indie artists. So it was just a yay.
Hey,
Cool,
okay,
good
well,
job.
Just celebrate an indie win.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead and raise your hand. Don't be shy.
In the meantime, I have a question. So you've spoken about the amazing kind of Rolodex of musicians that you have. So what does someone like one of us in our community get in touch with the Elements? Do we just send an email in with a link to our music? I know there's a contact form on the website. What's the easiest way for us to kind of...
Yeah, our emails are on the website. Feel free to pop us to whatever you're working on. Yeah, we have, as I said, a kind of a database of folks that we keep if we work with a great artist in any particular music vein, and we'll certainly hang on to that for future briefs. I also will kind of, if you have a sync rep in particular, and by that I mean, you know, separate to a label or publisher, you also, labels and publishers also will pitch your music for sync, but you can also retain both your master and publishing rights, and just have someone pitch it for sync, which just means if something lands, they'll take a certain percentage of whatever film, TV, advertising, placement, whatever that may be. So I also work with a lot of different sync reps and labels and stuff, and say, hey, if I'm looking for something specific, like this thing I'm working on right now is sort of very electronic synth, sort of dance music driven. So I'm reaching out to a bunch of electronic and dance labels and stuff that I know, to get people to work on stuff. So yeah, get on their radar, who pitch to sort of not just me, but many me's at you know, various supervision companies and agencies. Yeah, feel free to reach out directly too. I will say, I usually, when I sort of start talking about direct reach out to music supervisors, I will say, so we get, kind of sounds like a cop out, but we get sent music from all angles, all day, every day, and there's a mix of sort of the very indie, hey, I worked on here's a new song that I wrote this month, you know, right up to like Sony Music every week being like, here are the 300 albums we dropped, enjoy, happy listening. So there's constantly music coming in, hundreds if not thousands of tracks kind of every day. So don't be discouraged if there's no reply. Often I don't have time to reply to kind of every bit of music that I get sent. So it doesn't mean that people aren't kind of listening on the other end and saving. And I often will just keep things in my inbox and go back through like, oh, did anyone, you know, who has music in this world send me stuff? That's, keywords are also really important when pitching your stuff, because I might go back, and I know a lot of music supervisors will go back and kind of search their inbox of like, did I get anything in the funk world recently, you know? Yeah. And then just obviously, you know, make sure that when you send something, everything's kind of buttoned up on the rights holder side, because, you know, we'll be working so quick, and maybe we, you know, maybe I'm doing a search back through my inbox and I'm like, oh, great, here's a great track, pitch it, great, everyone loves it. Like, things move very quickly, so we got to know that it's kind of good to go, and don't have time to then sort out splits and stuff on the back end.
You prefer one stop and then having the agreements, having accessibility to that right away, because it's like things are moving, like you said, lightning fast, and you might pass over a song if it doesn't have all the correct metadata, right?
Yeah,
Or
we might have to. I mean, I can't think of a time when I've had to be like, well, it was going to be this, but like, there's two rights holders, and we're not going to use the track now. Although I have in the past had maybe there's a track that's kind of in the driver's seat and in the edit, and everything's about to go forward, and then for whatever reason, maybe there's an uncleared sample in there. Maybe at the last minute the artist doesn't want to do it or whatever it may be, but that day we have to kind of find a replacement track. And I've certainly done searches with the if I'm briefing out to people too, it's like, hey, only send me stuff that's like one stop and a very easy clear, just because I don't have time to wait for more clearances than that. That's not to say that I only pitch one stop music at all. It is very nice when I have less work to do. I love that, but I fully understand the reality of writing sessions, and it might be a big collaboration between 4 people, and 2 of them might have a publishing deal, and so like, I get it. But if there's just, make sure you have those splits recorded somewhere, and even if I get in touch and say, hey, I need to clear this. Okay, you represent 25% of it. Just like make sure it's easy to pass on the information as to where to go to get the rest of it.
right. And so that's great, because I mean, I think in these groups, we're all kind of versed and taught, and brainwashed into making sure we get our one-stop agreements together. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible for anybody who's looking at our songs, that they could just be ready to go. If it's like that's the song, radio ready, it has all the paperwork and everything. So just so you know, everyone in this group, we are putting together, Pandion Music Foundation is putting together for each supervisor a disco list. So you're able to submit your absolute best #1 song for Nick, for this class, whoever showed up today. This is not a shared offer. Like if somebody didn't show up today, then the offer doesn't apply to them. So this is specifically for people who showed up, and you would have access to this, Nick. We'll just hand it to you like a little, here you go. Listen to some
Amazing.
kick-ass, songs.
A physical CD, right?
Perfect. Yeah. So,
Right.
but that's great for our community. We're going to start doing that with all the different music supervisors that come on, or sometimes with an agency, we'll see. But right now, we're just starting with the music supervisors, because we're a nonprofit. We cannot, pick and choose. It has to just be fair and balanced. So that's kind of where we're coming from. We're not an agency. We're just, here you go.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear some stuff.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
Thanks in advance for sending, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And thank you, Nick. If like one of these works out, then we're just excited for each other. Once again, we're one big group supporting each other. So one win is all of us win together. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And what about any other questions? I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat.
We had a question from Laurie. Laurie, did you want to ask this question yourself? I will ask you to unmute.
Yeah, I mean, you can have, what did I write? Just when we're sending stuff, if we send stuff to you, do you want to know, like, right in the email, who we're represented by? Because maybe they're a contact, and that way,
Yes, absolutely. The more information up front, the better. Yeah, it's one for clearance. 2, as artists, I don't expect artists to be kind of on email ready to go all the time, because often you're off writing, or maybe you're playing shows or touring or whatever, so yeah, if there's a management contact or a publishing contact, or like anyone who's like that, like at me, sitting at not as talented as you musician folks, and is sitting at a desk instead, someone who can quickly get me what I need, clearance wise, or like, if it's asset wise too, in terms of instrumentals or whatever, like all that information, great. Yeah, include it up front.
Cool. And you're mainly doing ads, right? So if we pick something, it should be more geared toward ads than I missed the very beginnings. I was in my car. You don't do TV or film.
I do a little bit. I do a little bit of film. And we certainly pitch music for TVs and TV stuff and promos and whatever. Then I kind of wear a few hats. We have, if I earlier I was kind of talking about the selling side and the buying side. We kind of do both as well. So me as music supervisor, I'm sometimes brought in to find music for a project. And mostly that's kind of advertising, trailers, promos. So yeah, stuff in that world. Mostly ads, branded stuff. But we also kind of pitch music for sort of all forms of media. So I would say steer at mostly advertising, but also open to hear anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have any other questions? We have, a few more minutes.
I'm not sure why our disco link to our playlist is not working currently. So I made a list of everybody on here and I will make sure that I will email out a new link.
Can I pop in a question here? I'm not sure if I raised my hand. I'm not sure if someone saw it. I don't want to interrupt.
Go for it.
See it.
So two questions here. One is like, I'm a newbie to this, but songwriting for years and slowly putting out songs like on a regular basis. But the question is there a checklist that we should have when we send out an email? Like, I'm talking like, make this as concrete as humanly possible for me. And then the question attached to that, are there any emails that you receive that like catch your eye instantly in terms of like preparedness, content, professionalism? Like, what would you like just like write it out in the most like basic elementary, first grade terminology for me?
Yeah, and actually, maybe that's a good idea for like Pandion if you have like a checklist to share with folks. That could be like, it sounds like it could be a good thing to run down. On the top of my head, I can name a few, and if anyone else is like, oh, so this is a good idea, feel free to jump in. But yeah, obviously, who you are and a little blurb about what kind of music you make. Keywords, as I said, are good in that description. Like if you can put yourself inside the mind of whoever's kind of reading the email and what they might be searching for. So like maybe it's particular lyrical themes, maybe it's a particular production style, maybe it's just the genre. That's still important to include. A streaming link to the track itself, and ideally an instrumental as well, is great, because a lot of the work I do is instrumental only. So yes, always include both, and a streaming link that I can download. Disco's been mentioned already as a great platform. I don't know if you're familiar with Disco, but basically a file sharing platform that a lot of artists, labels, publishers, sync reps use. Fun fact, was actually started by my old company back in Australia and has kind of since become a bit of an industry standard almost. And so a lot of supervisors will use it on our end too. And it's just anything you can do to make it more likely for the music soup to hang on to your track, the better. And music soups are also human beings who, if there's an extra step or two in the process, maybe something might get in the way and they might not end up saving it. So Disco just allows us to click a button and it automatically copies over to our library. So yeah, not necessary to use it at all, but just a common one that is used. Any file sharing service that will allow kind of a streaming link so we can listen and then download if we want to keep it is great. Information on where to clear the track. If you're an independent artist, that might just be through you directly. It might be through a publisher or a label or a sync rep company, or perhaps a library if you make music for libraries. What am I forgetting, Ting?
I think you pretty much covered
You've
it.
got most of it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's having don't be an arsehole is words to live by in sync and outside of sync, an important one. there's enough assholes that have to deal on the branding side. I don't need it from the music side too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just having that in the body. Don't be an asshole. You can put that in the body of the email too. I'd appreciate that. But if you put all that information that I shared in the email, and then make sure that it's also available in the metadata of the song itself, because you can't trust me to keep tabs on everything, and where I got stuff from, and often a track will kind of get in our library, and we'll be like, okay, which artist or which publisher, label, whatever sent us this, and having that in the metadata of the actual song, so things stay together, is also really important.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so I just want to like give you so much, thank yous for sharing all of this today, because we get to speak to supervisors once in a while, and it's like it's different than when we speak to maybe an agency or a mentor, and it's just really nice to see, because you're kind of, I know it's kind of, I think I heard this from Rosie, how you give the music and it just starts. That's when it really, the supervisor gets this song, and then that's really when it begins. So here we are as artists. Well, it really, for us, it really starts with the idea, and then we make the music ready and get it to this place with all the one stops and everything, and then it goes to the supervisor and it's just beginning. And then it's like a whole world.
Yeah, I think sync is one small part, supervision is one small part of music at large, whole world out there, but it does almost start a little process on this end. I guess a misconception is that I choose the music, for whatever brand I'm working on, but it is really like I kind of see us as on one team, us, and maybe it's your label or rep or whoever. We're on one team, like, and we're pitching the music to the creative director at the agency, or the client, the brand, whoever we're working together to sell it in. If everyone's happy and the song's sold in, I get to log off at the end of the day, and it's all good. Like, we have the same goal in mind. So yes, it does. We do kind of start the process, and then it's in the hands of producers, directors, who brand marketers, whoever's making the ultimate decision.
Right. Wow.
Well, one more tidbit that just occurred to me when I was thinking about what to send. Finished tracks is always the way to go. It's a very, very rare occasion when a brand or a client or whoever it may be is like, this track is great, like, and it's not finished, but I hear the potential in it, let's go and do it. Those jobs are few and far between. It's really tough for us to pitch unfinished music. So like stuff that's mixed, mastered, polished is great, because another important thing to remember is we're not pitching to necessarily to music people, and everyone on this call can kind of speak the language of music, and it's and understand it, but often I'm pitching to a brand manager at a beer company, like they don't come from this world, and it's harder for them to kind of use their imagination perhaps and hear what's not there, in a sense, where we can listen and recognize that a song is a demo, and there's an idea. But every client's different. We work with some that are incredibly music minded, but often a lot will just kind of hear it just doesn't sound good, it doesn't sound polished, it's not, that's not our brand. So only send just finished tracks.
Right. Yeah.
Tangent number 7. How many's that been? There you go. Told you they'd happen.
Yes, radio ready. Something. It's like if you don't want to give a painting to half painted painting to someone who's a buyer. You'd look at your music as like your art, and this is finished pieces of work, and so that's what the person who's going to be trying to find what they need is going to want something completely finished and beautiful. So do your best. Send in your number 1. Thank you, Nick. This is so awesome. Our 12 o'clock is up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
love you,
Second
Nick.
time was the charm.
Yeah, second time.
Um,
Maybe we'll get you back for a third.
I'm here. You have my number.
Yeah, we got your number. We know how to find you. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a fabulous, beautiful day. And once again, happy Women's Day to you women and or the men in the group that love women or have somebody they love, and sending you so much love and blessings.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.